Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome back. Welcome back to the PorscheCooled Podcast. I'll slow down the pace, Steve. I'm going to slow it down. A bit hyper.
I'll
Steve,
slow it down for you.
Steve's here. He's sleepless in Sydney. He hasn't had much sleep at all. Emily's been keeping him awake. His daughter's been keeping him awake.
Both of them have, but mainly the younger one. It's brutal.
But they say that, you know, successful people only need 2 or 3 hours nights. 2 or 3
I'm not
hours.
successful. You already know this.
Sleep.
And this isn't helping.
So
this
Steve
really isn't helping.
So Steve said, I'm looking forward to the podcast today because I'm looking forward to clearing my head, getting it off my mind, not thinking about no sleep, talking about Porsche. Correct, Steve?
Did I? Okay. Yeah. If that's what I said.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. That's Steve coming in from Sydney. If you haven't been here before, my name is Michael Barth. This is the PorscheCooled Podcast. Steve, what's been happening? Let me just fill you in on what's happened to the listeners. To the listeners who have listened to, actually, I don't know if they know. People who follow me on Instagram would know, and I guess we spoke about it last week. I'm not in Bahrain. I'm back in London. You can see it in the background. You can see reflection of some kind of
last week.
Did I? But I was in Bahrain last week. I wasn't in London.
Yeah, I thought you said you were flying. Yeah.
Okay, well, I've flown now. Everybody, I've flown. I'm here. I'm in London. I'm actually back in the London flat, and it's nice. It's nice to be back, actually. I've had a lot of people reach out to me already about catching up. I really feel like I'm stressed under limited time, but I'm going to try to. But I feel like the 3 weeks are going to go really, really quickly because I've literally got 3 weeks before we jet off to Sydney on that beautiful long haul flight, which I'm not used to anymore.
When Ajmal offers to pick you up in a box turd, like in that stinky smell machine, what's your response going to be?
Well, I noticed you probably haven't seen Ajmal. We're talking about Ajmal app Flat Cap Driver. Most of you know who he is, but if you don't, go and check out Ajmal's YouTube channel and Instagram. Give him a follow, subscribe, all those sort of things. But Ajmal's just bought the, what do we call it, the cheapest Boxster in the UK, Steve?
I don't know. Is it?
I think it's
certainly cheap.
But I watched the video. I watched your video, Ajmal. I know you're listening. I watched the latest video that, I think it's the latest one, where he was cleaning it. He took the seat out and he's cleaning it and vacuuming it, Steve.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, it looks pretty. Looks a lot better, but it's. I think it's a 2000 986 Boxster. I'm going to say it's a 2.7 because it's 2000. I'm taking a guess here. I can't remember.
Might be a 2.5.
Is it a 2.5? It's either 2.5 or 2.7. It's a 2000. I know he said it was a 2000 in one of the earlier videos. I think it's blue. I think it's Zenith. Is it Zenith blue? Is that purpley blue?
Lapis.
I don't know. Huh?
Might be lapis blue, is it?
I don't think it's lapis. I don't think it's lapis because lapis is a bit more cobalt, isn't it?
Yeah. Slightly more kind of cyany blue rather than...
I'm sure someone else knows. I'm sure Ajmal knows what colour his Boxster is. But it's got nice wheels. When Ajmal when Ajmal first sent me images or sent me the link of the eBay ad of this car that he bought, I thought, man, those wheels are good. If you get those wheels, if you get Chris at XL Wheels, Chris at XL Wheels in the UK is the guy that did my wheels. Very, very good if you're in the UK. If you need your wheels refurbished or fixed up, contact Chris. He's got a website. He's got an Instagram, actually, Chris at XL Wheels. I was saying, Steve, if Ajmal got those wheels refurbished, you could sell them. They're worthwhile to sell the wheel. The wheels are probably worth more than the car, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I think so. Like those GT3 wheels were always really kind of cool, GT3 style wheels. And they're made by BBS.
Yeah.
They'd be a pain in the bum to refurb because...
they look like shit now. They look terrible now.
But also because they're two-piece, so you've got to pull those little bolts off and clean, like probably replace them and pull it apart and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
But they're very nice wheels.
They are very nice. I did say that to Ajmal. Chris at XL, I noticed... I think it's going way back on his Instagram. He has done a couple of those wheels before, those GT3 wheels. There was before and after shot. I'm pretty sure it's on his Instagram. So he has actually done them before. But yeah, I mean, look, you know, all jokes aside, I think it's great that Ajmal's experiencing another Porsche. He's got a Boxster, Steve. He now owns more Porsches than you and I do. He's got 3. He's got his 996. He's got his 912, which I think he mentioned he was selling, which I have no idea why he would want to sell that. And also his crusty Boxster.
Right.
It's got a Porsche collection.
You've not been in any of them, have you?
I've been in nothing at all.
Yeah, right.
I'm a hard man to get a hold of, as people know, for some reason. I want to come back to how I got here, Steve. I got here through Gulf Air. We flew into London.
Oh, okay.
But I wanted to say, before I left Bahrain, I'm gonna go off on watches for a second. Before I left Bahrain, I had a pretty fun evening actually, and I'm not going to mention his name because he likes to stay anonymous. But on Instagram, it's Time and Talk, TIME and Talk. Go and got to make sure I don't say his name. Go and say hello to my friend. Give him a follow. Tell him that he had a shout out on PorscheCooled Podcast, and that's why you're over there. But we went out, and I told you, Steve, we went out to the watch shops in the souk in the gold market in Bahrain. Watch shops that I haven't been to before. Watch shops that obviously a lot of them are grey sellers, and they sell Rolex and stuff. And basically, they have quite a few on display. And then basically, it's like, what do you want? And then they probably have it out the back. Prices are expensive. But he has, my friend in Bahrain, Time and Talk, he has a VC overseas dual time white face, which is very nice. And he's got
into them.
It's pretty nice, the dual time.
I know they're supposed to be like make up the kind of big three because they're Gerald Genter, three famous sort of designs. But of the three, that's the one that I like the least. Yeah.
Do you want to explain who Gerald Genter is?
You can explain. He's just like the most famous watch designer, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the famous watch designer. Patek, Nautilus, wasn't it? Nautilus, AP,
Royal
basically Royal, all the famous ones. He's the designer of them. But the VC overseas dual time, I haven't really been looking at Vacheron that much. You know what I mean? But I have started to look at them. For me, I like the simplicity of the blue face one. There's a plain blue face one, and that one's pretty nice.
Right.
And then he's got a Rolex sub, the bluesy one, the two-tone one, which is really nice as well. Mm-hmm. But anyway, that was fun. That's what I did before I left Bahrain. So that was like one of the last, I think that was the night before I flew out. So that was good. It was fun. It was good to catch up and good to walk around. I'm talking about cars. He had a SUV. He's got a Hyundai, is it Palisade? The big SUV. It's like a big American SUV, but it's a Hyundai.
Oh, yeah.
I tell you what, they're nice. They're actually a really nice car. Nice inside.
Get one?
And no, someone, Natasha's father's friend in Bahrain, he bought a Genesis, the one that looks like a Merc, which is like the saloon type Genesis, which is a Merc, which is also a Hyundai. I never realized Genesis was a Hyundai. I thought Genesis was associated with, for some reason I thought it was Nissan. I don't know why, but I didn't realize it was basically.
It's Infinity. It's just like Lexus is to Toyota.
Infinity, that's what it was. Anyway, that was it.
Yep.
What else, Steve? Let me just get onto this. Patreon. Patreon is, I was looking at Smoking Tire's Patreon page the other day because he has Patreon now, the Smoking Tire podcast. Wow. I tell you what, that's a pretty popular podcast, huh? He's got like something like 500 patrons already on Patreon. 500. That's a lot. We have 46, 47, I think.
Okay.
But seriously, it's 500 is like, that was quick, considering I only just started it. Anyway, I want to say thanks to Mark. Mark is a new member of PorscheCooled on Patreon. Mark joined during the week. So thank you, Mark. Thank you. What did Mark tell me? He said he just listened to the Wheelman episode. Did you like the title of last week's episode?
I still don't actually understand. I'm sure everybody else is kind of saying the same thing.
No, nobody understands. Nobody understands.
What's the relevance of this title to the actual things that are said?
It's about driving. It's about Porsche being a true Porsche driver. You know what I mean? Having experienced all the brand. That was the conversation we were talking about.
Oh, tenuous at best. Okay.
Mark understood. He said, I just listened to the Wheelman episode. I was struck that the gap in my... I hope you don't mind me reading this, Mark. This is a private message you sent me, but I'm sure it's okay. I was struck that the gap in my Porsche experience is with the modern cars. My daily driver is a 968. I also have a 72 911T that he's owned for 35 years and a 62 356. Now, it's a pretty nice collection. And they're the only Porsches he's ever owned. He said he'd love to own a 991, but there's an issue of funds. So he feels like he's missing out on recent developments. Goes to show that it's hard to feel like a fully knowledgeable wheelman. See, Mark got it. Mark understood it. Steve's shaking his head. He's going, what are you talking about?
He's a smarter man than I.
All right. if you want to join Patreon, like I always say, and Steve never says, but I always say, if you just go to patreon.com/PorscheCooled and you can join from $2 to $10 a month, it really does help us keep talking for as long as we're going to be here. I'm not sure how long that's going to be, but we're still talking at the moment. We're still here for the time being. Owner stories. Steve is very tired. Steve is hard for Steve today because he's very, very tired. Owner stories this week. I know you probably haven't listened to it, Steve.
No, it only came up overnight.
Yeah, so. And I didn't send it to you because I don't know what I've been doing. I actually don't know what I've been doing this week. I think I've been sleeping.
It's all right.
Number 55 of the owner stories. A long time since number 1 when Nick was on it. So number 55 with Devon. Had a good chat with Devon. Devon, if you want to go and follow him on Instagram, it's at Devon Vincent. Devon's a fashion designer. He has his own clothing brand. Really nice guy. Devon's actually a friend, and I know you're listening, Devon, but Devon's a friend of Brian. And Brian was on Owner Stories. What Owner Stories was Brian on? Brian, I can't remember. Brian. I'm sorry. I should have written it down. I can't remember what Owner Stories you were on. A few weeks back anyway. Brian is at Manuel996 on Instagram. Manuell, I think, 996. Who doesn't own a 996 anymore? He sold it. He's got a 991 now. So he recently bought a 991. Cool. So he doesn't have his cab anymore. He's got a coupe 991. Devon had a good story, Steve. He learnt stick on a Volvo. Nothing exciting, as he said. Then at 16, he was given a 66 Mustang, which him and his friends kind of wrenched on and fixed things on, which, it needed a lot of fixing, apparently. Then he got into Jaguar ownership, which he found quite enjoyable and quite reliable, which surprised me.
Yeah, that's surprising. You don't often hear that.
Yeah. And then, he had a friend and mentor that he used to meet up with beers and chat. I don't want to give away the whole story. I always give away too much. I'm just going to do it briefly today. But he had a friend and mentor that he used to meet up and chat about with cars and Porsche. And his friend had a Porsche, which I don't think he was driving it at the time, but he had a Porsche that he just kept and it was in his garage. But anyway, Devon eventually got into Porsche. He bought a 911 Turbo Tiptronic. He didn't really love the Tiptronic. He wanted to try and search out a manual. So then he did a swap. He managed to do a swap for his 996 Turbo Tiptronic, Steve, for a 997 Carrera 4S. And the guy gave him extra money for his Carrera 4S. For the Turbo, when he swapped it.
Yeah, okay. Right.
The Turbo had less miles than the 4S, and I think that was probably the reason. So he enjoyed that for a few years, and then he wanted a raw experience, and sadly his friend and mentor passed away, and he decided to buy that 69 Porsche 911T long hood hot rod because it's got a different engine in it. He decided to buy that from the estate, and that's the car he has today. It's originally tangerine. If you look at the photo on Instagram, you can see on the bumper on one of it, you can see the tangerine coming through, Steve. He hasn't done the paint job on it. It's still in black. Right. It was painted black some years ago. And he's going to fix up the interior and everything. But mechanically, I think it's pretty okay. Mm-hmm. But that's it. It's a good story. I mean, I like the 911T. I mean, I really, I don't have the money to buy one, but I do like them. They're a nice looking 911, especially in that 69. I do like the 69 model year for some reason. I don't know why.
All the cars of that kind of vintage, all the 911s, just look super cool. But
yeah.
No idea how they drive, but they look cool.
They do look cool. Devon's also a watch guy as well. He's actually got an OP41. Which is really cool. Yeah, the one that I've wanted for a long time. Not OP41. What am I talking about? He's got a Royal Oak 41. AP Royal Oak 41. Yep. What else? So make sure you listen to that. That's Owner Stories this week. Only came up today, so we're actually recording this on a Tuesday, but when you hear this on Friday, it will be up for a few days, so make sure you check that out. And go over to Devon's Instagram. He doesn't have many pictures of his car on his Instagram. He has a lot of pictures of his clothing brand. I think he's going to change that, and he's going to put some more in the story and add some more images over there. But go over to Devon's Instagram and give him a follow. And let him know that you heard his story on PorscheCooled. Steve, you got a recommendation? Let's go straight into the recommendations.
Oh, okay. I'll tie it into something that was asked of you and then you passed the question on. So my recommendation is the ceramic coating that I used, which is Kamikaze Miyabi. And I'll go into it further when we kind of lead into that part of it. But I did a lot of kind of homework and asked my uncle and just read a bunch of stuff, blah blah blah, and that's the one that I kind of arrived at, for mainly for quality and ease of use, and I'll explain that a bit more. But so it's not cheap, definitely not cheap, but it's been around for quite a while, and there's a lot of noise in ceramic coatings and stuff like that, so it's enormously hard to work out what's good and what's bad. And if you kind of fall into the hole of watching a billion YouTube clips, you can kind of also tell, again, this is me advertising cynical guy, that kind of goes, a lot of those things are probably quietly sponsored. So you think that you're getting a objective recommendation, but they're probably kind of being paid, or they've been slipped the product for free or whatever. So, do you really know whether or not that's actually like a good recommendation or not?
Yeah, that's the worst thing about YouTube, is when you actually start to get even
And
small,
Instagram.
small amounts of views. But YouTube, I mean, I had a few people approach me to give me free products. Some I took up and some I didn't. Not very many, actually. I think a watch roll or something, and
Yep.
headphones. I think headphones, when I was doing tech reviews as well, some tech reviews, I think headphones. But I had a lot more other emails that people wanted to send me stuff, you know what I mean? So sometimes I didn't take them up because it was just too difficult to where to get them posted to, and you don't want to give out your home address and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
but you do get approached, and you're right. It's very hard to know what is real and what is not real. And sure, they've got to say that it's sponsored or not sponsored, but some people don't.
No, they don't.
They don't.
They don't have to. Like in the old days of like proper editorial, in terms of proper journalists and stuff, you declare whether or not, it was free or whatever else, or if they kind of gave you like a free hat or whatever. Hence like Matt Farrell always giving away like Lamborghini helmets, because he feels like it compromises his credibility as a journalist. It's the Wild West with social media. Like, you don't actually know what's, sort of not. I'm not sort of saying that they're dodgy. It's just that it's very hard to kind of remain neutral if somebody's kind of giving you something in return.
I find it, what I find a bizarre, and we'll get back onto the podcast, but I find what's a bit weird is that these brands, some of these people, they get a little bit annoyed if you say no. Like, I've had people get annoyed with me recently, obviously, but people get annoyed if you don't want to do it. Like, why don't you want to do it? And it's like, I don't know if I have to explain to you why I don't want to do it. Like that watch company, they wanted me to explain to them why I didn't want to do it. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, are you seriously asking me this? Like, I don't want to answer that question. You know what I'm saying? And it's the way that they ask it. And I think it's like, hang on, I don't know about that. I don't know.
I'm assuming that the kind of people that are approaching you, again, this is sort of like slightly industry sort of skewed opinion, but I'm assuming the people that approach you in that regard probably often aren't the actual brand, but it might be like the go-between, like a PR agency or whatever.
No, it's a brand. The ones that have contacted me is a brand.
Yeah, like some clients like wouldn't really know, and then they would kind of hire like their advertising, or in this instance more often would be a PR agency. They would then kind of go, oh, okay, this is our target market. It's 40 to 50-year-old white male, blah blah blah, with this sort of income and this sort of interest.
Yeah.
And then they'd kind of go and look at like their database of how to reach these people, and then they'd look at your audience and your numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming by the time you get contacted by, said person in PR agency, they're going to be very commercially minded, and they're just going to assume that, they wouldn't have a shit's clue who you are and what your podcast is about. They would have never listened to it. They'll just kind of go, oh, aren't you in it to make money?
Okay. But the weird thing is, right, is that the podcast has had nothing.
Yeah.
The podcast has had, I'm not going to mention who it was, but two reasonably well-known things approached, and then one product. The thing that I've had, and don't forget, the podcast has more downloads or more than my YouTube, right?
Yep.
And then, well, not more downloads actually, because my YouTube's had like 1.4 million views or something in total now over the years.
Yeah.
So sorry, that's wrong. That's incorrect. But as in followers, I don't know. See, this is where I find it really weird, and we're getting slightly off track. But I find this a little bit weird because it's not about I keep saying to people who ask this question, it's not about how many subscribers you have, because it doesn't really matter if you only have 5,000 subscribers.
Yeah, no.
I've had more people approach me on the YouTube channel to give me headphones, to give me hard drives, to give me iPhone holders, to give me all these things. And like, I'm talking about a lot. And these are Chinese companies, right? Obviously, they're little companies that are trying to break through, but they're not that little. They're on Amazon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Watch rolls, watch products, watch straps. There's been a lot, and most of them I ignore, or I just say no, I don't do it because I couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
So it feels like
it's cheap advertising for them,
and it's cheap advertising.
From their perspective, in the old days, you'd kind of have to pay. We're talking probably like thousands, right? To kind of book the media space, to produce like whatever the medium is, like if it's a radio ad or a print ad, or even if it's sort of like digital advertising, like you've got to create like a banner ad, those horrible banner ads that get served up on your desktop or your phone.
Yeah.
That in itself, that exercise in itself costs like, it's even at its cheapest, it's still going to be like north of maybe a couple of grand or two.
Yeah.
But to kind of reach out to somebody like you and then offer you a free thing and then get you to talk about it for what's going to be longer than 30 seconds, which is a standard radio spot, it costs them nothing. Like that all that costs is them opening their mouths, then giving you free product. And if I know you sort of said ages ago that somebody was offering you something, but they were probably going to pay you like $180.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the comparison against traditional advertising, it's so cheap.
That's so cheap. Yeah. So
it's nothing for them to kind of ask, like every YouTuber on the planet to kind of, review their stuff.
Well, look at all the YouTubers that are getting, I don't know whether they get to keep those Sony cameras, but all the, as soon as something new comes out, they get the new phone or the new camera. I'm sure some of the big ones do get to keep them. I'm sure they're actually free. They're a gift.
But again, because if you think about it, like the product to us, like a Sony camera might cost like 1,200 Australian dollars, but for them to manufacture it and give it away, it's probably costing them like,
exactly, a third.
$200. Like, what do they care?
So anyone that's looking at starting YouTube or whatever, it's not about how many subscribers. If you only have a few thousand subscribers and you want that advertising thing, people will approach you. If you're targeted, you have to be really targeted, you know what I mean? But they will approach you.
Yep.
My recommendation, Steve, I'm going to keep onto the watch theme. It's not going to be a Porsche recommendation. It's going to be a watch thing. And it's something I've spoken about before, and someone asked me about it again.
Rolex?
Someone asked me about it again the other day, what my case was that I use, what travel case. And it's not just a travel case. And I know it's called a travel case, but it's a Phase de Lune travel case, which is from Mr. Chrono. And Mr. Chrono is a website. It's just mrchrono.com. They have a store in Paris and they have a store in Singapore. I buy from the Paris store because I usually buy it when I'm in London. They ship worldwide. I think if you're in Australia, maybe the Singapore one's easier.
Yep.
But it's Phase de Lune is it's leather. It's it just, how do I explain it? It's like a roll. It's not a roll. It's like hard sides and it closes up, but it keeps your watch really secure. It has the little roll inside, which just has the four press studs that it clips into. I find it really easy. I don't like the ones where all the watches go on a roll and they all sort of knock against each other. These ones are separate compartments. Like I've got the 2-1 and I've got the single one. The 2-1 has the divider in the center. I did a review ages ago on my YouTube channel where there was someone gave me a watch roll. And it was okay for the money, but there was a bit of an issue with the weight of it, and it was wood inside and how the watches sort of sat together. Phase de Lune, in my mind, is just the perfect watch roll. And they're expensive, okay? They're not cheap. They are expensive. It's, I think the large one is, people are going to die when I say this, I think it's about 370. I'm about to buy another one, 370 euro maybe? Something like
Bloody
that.
Bloody hell, euro.
Or 280, maybe 320 euro shipped, something like that. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. But I have bought a couple of them. I bought my wife one as well, so she has one as well. But I believe Patek, I think it's Patek or AP, I think it's Patek actually. They use it as their case. It's branded Patek, but it's made by Phase de Lune. But they're good. That's what I would recommend. If you're into watches and you want a really nice case, that's what I would get. That's my recommendation. Steve, Apple ratings and reviews, just quickly. I like to read these out. People go to the effort of writing a review and doing this on Apple, which is annoying, and it really does help us to get up the podcast charts. So I'm going to read this one out. Just one this week. A relaxing and entertaining podcast for Porsche enthusiasts. I started listening to this a few weeks ago, wanted to listen to a podcast specifically about Porsche. Sure enough, found this and was very pleased. The two hosts are relaxing to listen to, have a bit of cheek to them, have a bit of cheek to them. Of course, Steve, that's Steve you're talking about, Steve, have a bit of cheek. And talk about everything Porsche. The owner stories are cool to hear. Too, as a person who would like to own a Porsche one day, it's best to hear others' experience working towards theirs. Great podcast. So that's Leon Pett from the US. Thank you so much, Leon. Much appreciated for leaving that review, and I hope you get your Porsche very, very soon. Okay, so I'm just going to tell the listener, Steve, you sent me a video of that very cool video where you mount the camera. I'm very impressed with that camera, actually. You mount the camera on your roll cage, right? But you went for a drive with Marco, your Freedom drive with Marco.
I'll explain that. That's just like a MagSafe moment mount that's attached to the roll cage, and it's magnetic. So it uses MagSafe again. And I literally turn around, I grab my phone, I'm doing it at the moment like this. I turn around and I go like that, and it magnetically kind of clamps to the cage, and that's it. And then I hit record.
So that's filmed with your iPhone, is it?
Yeah.
And your iPhone is which one?
12 Pro Max, so it's 4K.
Okay, anyone that doesn't have an iPhone, they should buy one now. Because honestly, Steve's car is not the quietest thing inside.
It's noisy.
That is noisy. There is vibration. This phone footage that you shot, Steve had it on his roll cage. Marco's in front in his beautiful yellow 996 turbo. You can hear the turbo. It even picks up the sound of the turbo of Marco's car in front. You can still hear Steve's car. You can hear Marco's car. It somehow isolates the sound. It doesn't vibrate. It doesn't vibrate, Steve. There's no vibration. It's perfectly still. It's mainly always in focus. Like you can see it. Like obviously it focuses more on your screen than Marco's car. It's a little bit soft on Marco compared to your dash.
Yep.
And
that's just using the iPhone camera. That's not even opening Filmic Pro. Like, just to be clear too, like I only do that for fun. It's not like that's going to wind up on YouTube or anything like that, because I'm not like a YouTuber. That was just more so Marco can kind of see what his car looks like from behind and record the sound. So that's me driving normally, not doing anything out of the ordinary to kind of set it up. No gear, no microphones, no nothing, with the window still a little bit down so I can enjoy the sound of my own car and everything. And I'm so surprised at how accurate the sound is. Like there's not like, it's kind of a little bit sort of messy with a bit of wind noise here and there, but generally like that bit that I sort of pointed out to you where you can hear Marco flooring it, and you can hear his turbo spooling up, and then you see like the puff of exhaust soot coming out.
Yeah, no, the exhaust soot came out.
Tailpipe.
I know, I saw that. That's when I knew that was the sound. It was pretty cool, and you can hear your car, you can hear his car. That mount is a very good mount. Honestly, it worked really well, and it's
just for fun.
If you have a car and you used GoPros before and you tried to film yourself, GoPros are okay, but GoPros are a real pain in the ass to use. I still find that they never sync with your phone properly. They're supposed to just work flawlessly with the Wi-Fi. They never do, you know what I mean? And then you've got to have them set up properly. If they're not set up properly, you always get weird focusing. That's why I always tended to use the Hero, the little tiny one that I've got, the Hero, which I used to always use in on my windscreen. Because I found that one the most easiest to use. I never used my phone. I never hooked it up with my phone. I just put it on the screen, put it around about the right position, and just started talking and just said, GoPro start.
You're sort of semi-praying when you do that, aren't you? Because you can't really see, like you've got to hook it up to see like a live view of what you how it's framed up and stuff like that.
Yeah,
right?
I probably lie. I probably do try to frame it up a little bit, but I always know around about the spot I've had it before. So I kind of just put it in the same spot. But that one always worked really well. Then I bought a new GoPro, which has got that little Hero, I can't forget what it's called. What is it? The tiny little square cube thing. But that had voice activation, where my old one, I had a really old GoPro which didn't.
Oh, okay.
So then I just say stop recording, start recording, and it's easy when you're driving and you can just do that. And the sound was pretty good off the mic, off the GoPro. You know what I mean? So
yeah, look, it was just for fun, and like I bought other kind of little kind of gadgets. I think it's just sort of more like for when probably like even the three of us, you, me, and Marco, wind up kind of going for a hoon. And like if we just kind of had really basic phone footage, I'd just be kind of curious to sort of see like the different views. Because you know what it's like when you actually drive your own car, you never hear what it's like on the outside.
Yeah.
And you never really get to see what it's like on the road. Now, when I've kind of gone for a drive with my mate who's got almost like the identical white 997.1 GT3,
which is weird.
It's like, oh, okay, is that what it looks like? Hey, it looks pretty good from behind and it sounds good and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's just for fun. So
yeah, it was good. I mean, Marco's car looks really cool.
yeah,
Your car does look whiter in the photos that Marco posted on Instagram too. I thought it looked whiter. Maybe it's just mind over matter.
Yeah, so what we did is we hadn't been out, like, we've been in lockdown for whatever it is, 4 months, not really gone for a drive. So we decided finally to kind of head down to the national park on Saturday morning. Weren't super early, not super late, and it was really good. Like, it's nice to get out and all of that sort of stuff. But man, there's so many cyclists on the road. To the point where we did one trip down, we didn't go all the way to the Seacliff Bridge thing. We sort of stopped short because I think we got stuck behind a caravan thing. And then sort of thought, oh, stuff it, let's turn around and go back. And on the way back, when Marco led instead, we just got trapped with like tons of cyclists. And I know probably...
Yeah, I noticed you passed a few.
Well, I know that you probably have lots of cycling enthusiasts on your channel, but bloody hell, it's like they've got a death wish. Like, we got to a point where, like, we were stuck in like rows of kind of cyclists, and I was being literally overtaken by like idiots on bikes, which I kind of go, is that not really dangerous? Because you kind of realize that in about a minute, I'm about to kind of re-overtake you. And pretty much every time I try to overtake you, if something kind of were to go wrong, like, I'm very careful, but if something were to go wrong, like there's an oncoming car or something like that, you're absolute toast, like on a one-lane road either way. I don't know. Like, I get that it's a hobby and it's a passion and everything, but I actually just sometimes don't get why cyclists would take that risk.
It seems like a general thing, though. When I talk to people on owner stories, they say it's a good road, but there's a lot of cyclists. You know what I mean? So obviously, being careful. Got to be. Take care with everyone on the road. It's difficult to drive properly.
Everybody's got the right. Everyone's got the right to the road. I get that.
When I drive up to the Central Coast from Sydney, people in Sydney know where that is when I go to my family's house, and it's only an hour and a half away from Sydney. Always that bit through after Chatswood into Gordon, Turramurra there. And because I always leave really early on a Sunday morning or Sunday morning usually, and there's packs of the cyclists. I don't understand the road rules. I don't understand what their rules are, because they take up the whole one lane, the left lane.
They're entitled to. Yes.
And then that lane disappears, and then they just come into your lane. They don't stop because they can't stop because they're moving. They've got momentum.
Yeah.
And then they come into your lane. But there's no real warning that they're coming into your lane. You know what I mean? Like, how those lanes disappear near Chatswood there, and they go into one. It's like, oh my God, they're all in front of me then, and then you got to like slow way back, and then there's a car next to you, and it's like, I don't know. It always comes. It's very dangerous. It always seems very, very dangerous to me.
It feels dangerous for them. I don't know. I'm not a cyclist. I'm not kind of slamming them, but I just kind of go like at 6:30 on a Saturday morning, like, obviously everybody's kind of got pent up, like, wants to kind of just get out and enjoy a bit of, whatever their passion is. But I was saying to Marco, it's like, I think maybe we either have to kind of go a decent amount earlier even, or we've just got to, like, we both kind of run our own businesses sort of thing. So we can probably maybe try to coordinate and sneak out on a weekday instead.
But you guys went out late though. I saw the time on your screen. It was 8:30 or something. That's quite late.
No, that's the trip. That was the trip back.
We've
kind of done one run.
Oh right. I thought, wow, you're driving late. Normally you go down like 4 a.m. or something, 5 a.m.
Yeah. So look, it was fun, but slightly disappointing. Like, really good to get out. Really good to kind of blow the cobwebs out of the car. Remember how it sounds.
Yeah.
As we've said a million times over, there's something about driving in convoy that's just so much more fun than driving by yourself.
It's nice.
So all of that's really cool. Like, Marco's car is a fun car to kind of chase. I can kind of tell, like, that little clip that I sort of shared with you when he's on it and he's on boost. Like, the car is super quick. So it's kind of fun trying to work out when you need to kind of go to kind of keep up with him. So really, really cool to kind of get out. But to a degree, it's made me go, oh man, I now want to go out on a weekday when there's nobody, like when normal people are working, and we can kind of have the roads maybe a little bit more to ourselves. So yeah, it was really good to get out, but just like made both of us kind of go, oh man, like can't wait to kind of go and do putty again, or go down to Kangaroo Valley, or just sort of, do something
like you said, it's been so long, right? It's been so long.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's been ages for me. It's like I don't even know if I can drive manual anymore. That's why I keep thinking maybe I'm going to have to get a PDK, I think. I don't think I can drive manual. Huh? There's a nice white PDK GTS for sale at Porsche Sydney. I noticed that the other day. I was looking at it thinking, oh, that's pretty cool. It's got a lift kit as well.
Get a Tiptronic, mate. We've given Tiptronic such a good rap of the last couple of episodes. Just get a Tiptronic.
Well, Devon reckoned that there wasn't,
Sportomatic?
Wasn't right. I don't know what the Sportomatic is. I still don't understand that. Anyway, let's not get into transmission. Let's talk about I just want to say that the cars for sale this week, Steve, you sent me two GT3s. Two? Yeah, you sent me two GT3s. Someone else, James at Porsche Platz sent it to me as well. The one with the white roll bar and the white tunnel that's for sale in Sydney. I really don't like the white roll bar and the white tunnel. I think yours is much nicer with carbon and black. I don't like that white on white thing. It looks a bit weird to me.
I wouldn't do it, but I'm still kind of quite partial to a body colored center console tunnel thing. I quite like the look of it.
I like your carbon better. I think your carbon looks better. Maybe it has to be maybe it's a different color. I don't know. But I think the carbon looks much better on yours than a plain white one. I mean, I think in my car, maybe the silver's okay. But I think in your car, the carbon just works really well. There's also that other GT3 that you saw on some site in Melbourne. I've never seen that site before. Have you noticed all these auction car sites turning up in Australia now? All these sites seem to be popping up all over the place. I don't know what these... And other people who have... I notice other people who have podcasts are also selling cars now as well. Like people advertising cars. It's all like going a bit crazy. There was a 912 as well that... wow, quite a few people sent me. And I thank you for everyone that sent it to me. It's quite amazing how many people still know that I'm hunkering over a 912, and they send me that red one that I sent you, Steve, in Queensland. It's gone already. It's sold already. Just shows you the state of the market. It's on hold. It lasted It lasted 2 days, and for the listeners, it was 65,000 Australian dollars, I think, around about 65,000 Australian dollars.
So I have no idea about the 912 market. Only whatever you sort of send me and talk about. But that's cheap, right?
Yeah, that's cheap. I mean,
enormously cheap.
Not enormously cheap. No, it's about right. It's about right. It's about the price that you'd get one from the US in a similar condition. There's one. There's one that I've been
talking about 120 sort of thing. So I just kind of
better ones. That's landed though. That's landed. That's the better ones, the more expensive ones. That's when you're getting one at about 60,000 US. You can. There are some out there still for 45,000 US. There's probably cheaper ones too, but depends on what level you want it to be at. But there's one in and Benjamin. We'll get on to Benjamin because he gave a question about the detailing thing, which I want to get onto. There's someone in North Carolina that's got one for sale. I saw it on Hemming's website last night. It's a white one. It's pretty good. It's like 44,000 US, negotiable. I shouldn't say this because other people looking for it will probably buy it, and I'll miss out like I always do. But there's a really good green one for sale in UK with yellow headlamps, fully done by Revival 912, fully restored, Steve. Really, really nice. And that's for basically £60,000. So that's expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive.
It's expensive. Everything's expensive.
But everything's expensive, and it's not just Porsches, it's everything. So.
Yeah, true. Hey, houses, for example. Let's get on to, let's not get into values. Let's get into the detailing thing. Because last week we touched on the Porsche detailing thing. And, in my head at the moment, I'm thinking a lot about maintenance. I'm thinking a lot about detailing of the 997. I'm thinking how my arms are still aching and I don't know how I'm going to wash my car because I'm still in pain. And I'm thinking about all these things. And during the week, as you know, I contacted... and I'll mention his name, and I'm not going to get into it too much, but I contacted Pierre at Atlas, and I got a quote to fix the damage. I think it's Atlas Body, isn't it? I don't even know the full name of Pierre's company. Atlas Body in Artarmon in Sydney. So I contacted Pierre. He's really friendly, really helpful. We've never met, not yet.
Yep.
He knew of the podcast, which is great. And
He's got
he's got a
RS,
GT3.
right?
Yeah, he's got a GT3. I saw it on his Instagram, actually. He's got a GT3 RS,
cool.
right?
It's
It's
cool.
very, very cool. So he gave me a quote for the damage. Some of you guys will remember the car. My car was damaged. Someone had either intentionally or unintentionally damaged the front bumper while it was in storage. A little bit of damage, like a very small amount of damage, is quite surprising. And I'm not going to say how much it costs to fix, but it's quite surprising. Steve knows it's quite surprising how dear it could be, how expensive it is. And that's no reflection on Atlas. It's just the price it costs, because the price of the part is very expensive.
Yep.
So I will be getting that done when I go back to Sydney. That's one thing I'm doing. I haven't decided whether to go through insurance or not. I probably won't go through insurance. I'll probably just pay for it.
Yep.
Because Steve's given me the scare thing about the premium going up crazy, and I don't want my premium to go up because I've just increased the value of my car and it's going up anyway, Steve.
Yeah, it's just the point that I made, which I often make to mates, is with insurance, like what you don't kind of think is that if you make a claim, you obviously have to pay your excess, whatever that is. I bump my excess up right up because I'd rather pay less on my premium, as an example. But I think one sort of thing that maybe people don't think about is that even if you have protection on your no claim bonus, which means that like if you have a stack, like, and you've got 60% no claim bonus, you'll still have 60% next year, which means your premium, that part of your premium doesn't change. You've still actually had an accident and you've made a claim, and that number therefore means that the premium changes for years to come, because they ask you that question if you switch companies, like have you had an at-fault claim? And the answer to that is yes, but you can never actually. I've asked, like I've always kind of gone, oh, okay, so like if I make this claim, like can you give me a rough idea of how much my premium might go up for the next couple of years? Nobody can ever answer that question.
No, they'll never tell you.
Yeah,
they'll never tell you. Anyway, Steve, maintenance. So I'm thinking about maintenance. Like I said, I'm going to get the front. My wife said probably just leave the front. It's not going to be that bad. I have to get it done. Because it's going to bother me. So I'm going to get that done. As you know, the car's booked in at Auto House. So whatever they have to do, we went through that last week. But thinking about maintenance, and also from you talking about your detailing, because you've been doing that full-on paint correction and ceramic coat on your car, I think and you're still going. And I think we touched on it really quickly, and a lot of people are really interested in this. And I know we've left it to the end of the podcast again, but a lot of people are interested. And Benjamin, who's been on Owner Stories before, number 48. I wrote down Benjamin's number. Owner Stories number 48. So if you haven't seen that, go and listen to Benjamin's story. He's got the 993 Carrera 2 and the 03, I think it is, Boxster S. At Mod Classic Cars. Benjamin asked me the questions about your paint correction. I'm going to read it out, actually.
Because I lost the thing. Tell me again what his specific question
he said, I loved Steve's update on paint correction. I hope you don't mind me reading this out, Benjamin. I'd be interested to know what products he ended up purchasing, orbital machine, creams, and coating, and if he recommends them. He says, I tried an Adams ceramic on my truck. He's got a truck as well. And ended up removing it due to high spots that I didn't like. I'm experimenting with paintless dent removal now. The tools to do those repairs have come down quite a lot. I'm not sure about
that stuff.
Whose was that?
He just pulled my uncle.
Really?
He bought some of that the ding removal sort of things a little while ago because he was watching a guy doing it. So he's just like that. He bought it, and then he's got two 2002 TIIs, and he did it on the silver one, and he said he pulled the paint on it.
Oh, what? See, that's what I mean. I wouldn't do that. You've got to be really careful. Let's get on to the first part of Benjamin's question, though, because I know a lot of people want to know this, and we didn't go through any of the products you use, I don't think, Steve. We didn't even talk about
I'll try
the
to
products.
be quick.
No, you don't have to be quick, but I think you should talk. Just tell everyone the products. If anyone wants to know more, just send Steve a DM or send me a DM, and I'll write it down for you. But I think it's good. So, Benjamin wants to know what products you ended up using, the machine, the creams, and the coating. And would you use them again, I guess?
Yep. So starting from the beginning, I bought like a Flex PXE80, the little machine. It's the little cordless thing, actually. I kind of got it because I was never intending to do the entire car. I wasn't sure how long lockdown was going to go, and I was intending on just doing like the harder parts of the car, like the bumper and stuff, which means that you only need like a smaller pad, so it's only like a 3.5-inch pad. And what I was intending to do was just get that bit sorted and then go see my uncle and borrow his proper kind of Rupes machine, which is more like a 6 or 7-inch pad. Lockdown went forever, so I wound up just doing the entire car with this tiny little machine, but really good. So the machine itself is great. The battery kind of goes, it comes with 2 rechargeable batteries, so you put one in, you work on the car, then you've got the other one charging, and then you never run out of battery. You just kind of keep swapping them over. Enough power. When you kind of watch all the YouTube videos, you can swap between a 3 and a 1-inch pad comes standard, but I bought like an attachment to kind of fit a 2-inch pad.
Right.
And that just means that you think about how curvy your car is, like particularly the bumpers and the back wheel arches and stuff. You can't really use like a big pad in some of those spots anyway, so you actually need to use a small machine, which is again why I got it.
Okay.
So that's the starting point. The machine itself.
Can I ask a question? What's the benefit then? Is the benefit of using a bigger pad is just for the larger areas to get it done quicker? Is that it? So there's no other difference between...
I'm assuming, I'd say if you kind of had like Larry from Memo on, or like that Todd from Esoteric,
Right.
they'd probably tell you that the torque of the machine and how powerful it is actually counts as well. But
Okay.
The bits that I've read, like in terms of this little machine, like a Flex is made in Germany, which kind of gave me a bit of comfort as well.
Yes.
The 2 good machines, I believe, are Flex and Rupes. Rupes is Italian. So I wouldn't hesitate with that. I found a good deal on it and all that sort of stuff. So
Expensive?
what was it? I think it was about bit over $600.
$600. Wow.
Yeah. So look, as I said to you last week or whatever,
Aussie dollars.
You can go and buy like other machines for about $350 that I think are decent, but
Okay.
don't do things by halves. So that's a machine. You got to then buy like a shitload of pads as well. Like you'd be quite surprised as to how many kind of pads that you actually kind of require. And I think when you're a newbie too, you basically kind of have this hesitation because there's different grades of pads and there's different materials. Like there's foam, microfiber, and wool. Wool being the most aggressive, foam being the one that you probably kind of start with because you're sitting there thinking that you don't really want to take off too much clear on your clear coat on your paint.
Yep.
So all in all, look, I used Lake Country foam pads and Buff and Shine microfiber pads. I started with the foam pads, realized that it wasn't cutting enough, and I was just standing there trying to take scratches out, and it wasn't doing anything. So I shifted to a microfiber pad, and all of a sudden, it worked much better. So,
how did you find out about this Lake Country brand? Is that one of the well-known brands? Is it?
It's just one of the well-known brands. Like I think there's only you can buy Rupes pads. Lake Country, I think, is an American brand, and there's one other I can't remember off the top of my head.
So what are the pads called, Steve? They're microfiber pads, are they?
I used a combination of microfiber to kind of do the first step, which does most of the cutting with Sonax Compound, which is another German company, and then. So you do that to get most of the scratches out, and then you do what is called sort of like a finishing step, which is like using a finer foam pad and finer. It's kind of more like a jeweling polish, which doesn't cut much.
So when do you use the clay though? You use the clay in the beginning?
You clay right at the beginning.
So you clay at the beginning, and then you start using the pads. So depending on the area of the car, you use a different size pad depending on where it is. And the Sonax is a polish, is it?
Yes, it's a German polish brand. So it's the liquids that you apply to the pad.
Okay.
And it's obviously like the literal kind of polish, and it's kind of like a mixture of abrasives and oils and stuff like that. And,
right.
Part of the stuff that you kind of have to figure out is the combination of pad and polish that works against the type of paint that you're working on. So there's there's those three things plus your technique, like how fast are you kind of moving your hands across the kind of body of the car and stuff like that. There's the combination of those four different things is something that you just need to kind of work out for yourself as to whether or not that's kind of doing, like taking the scratches out. Like the last step in all of this, when you're using like a really fine foam pad and just some polish, like the finishing polish.
Yep.
All that's doing is making your car shiny. It's not actually taking anything off anymore. So that bit's really easy. It's the scary bit is sort of like the abrasive bit when you're kind of trying to cut scratches out of your clear coat.
Right. And last week you said you bought some cheap lights from Aldi or something, or Costco, right?
Aldi and Costco. Yeah. Look, when you read up about it, the lights are actually really, really important. Like, I won't get into it too much, but like, for example, my uncle doesn't have a garage, even though he's like a mad car guy. He's got like a carport down the side of his house.
For 20 cars.
So, yeah. But the funny thing about that, like if you think about him working away, like doing detailing his car, is that means that he's got partial sort of sunlight, daylight.
Yeah.
But then he's also kind of got lights. And I believe, well, it makes sense. If you think about it, the lights are really, really important, because if you can't see the surface scratches on your car and stuff like that, then you actually have no idea what you're trying to take out or whatever.
Yes.
So it can get really dear. Like there's a couple of car specific brands, but like those lights were like $500 or $600, which is mental. I just got something, like one thing was at Aldi for like $30, and it's really, really good. Like I'll lend it to you when you kind of, if and when you want to kind of get to it. But like if you're in an enclosed space, like a unit block car park or your own garage, you need to kind of set the lights up so you can see what you're kind of working on. And my car is white, so it's actually even harder to kind of get that bit right.
Yeah. So you definitely need lights, and you definitely need the lights to see the scratches.
I know you weren't sort of super serious when you sort of said, well, I know like when you're kind of washing your car, you said you use your iPhone light. Use that as an example.
Yeah, I do.
That's not strong enough. Like
after I polish, I use that. Yeah.
Like you won't be able to see like the marring on your surface well enough with an iPhone light.
So if you have your 911 and you've been waxing it for years, you've got to get rid of all the old wax, right? So that's what the clay does. It gets rid of all the wax. So you've done all the...
You do a proper decontamination wash, like you can use dish
laundry detergent. Yeah.
Or you can buy a specific thing. Then you need to use a iron removal sort of spray thing.
Oh, really?
It's the thing that's like on your wheels, that turns purple. Yeah.
So which one do you use? A Gion one?
I just used a Gion one, yeah. Gion, whatever it's called.
When did you use the paint depth gauge? Because I noticed you had that on your list. When did you use that?
I did that. I think I talked about it like a couple of podcasts ago. I did it at the beginning because I was nervous about kind of cutting too much. And I just read up about it. Like, it's definitely not like, it's not a necessity. Like like my uncle, like he's done like, 6 of his cars and they're all expensive and he never bothered with it. He just kind of went hell for leather kind of thing. But being a bit more conservative, I just went, after reading up about it, you can basically just work out the factory depth of your car.
Right.
As I sort of said, you're not trying to work out how much you're taking off when you actually start doing the job.
Right.
You're just trying to work out where possibly is the paint thinner on your car. So where do you need to be more careful?
So the product you recommended this week, that Kamikaze. So you had 2 products. So what are the 2 different products that you use? Because I know Benjamin asked about the coating that you use. So you use Kamikaze. Yeah,
and he used Adams, which is a well-known American brand.
One? But you've got 2 products. What are they? Why have you got 2 products?
Okay, so that's the coating. So this is like the first step when you kind of work on your car in this world is you're doing the paint correction, which I said before is taking off all the scratches, and you're getting it, perfect, but there's nothing on top protecting it. Like you've taken all the wax off in your old school world. So your paint is now like as scratch free as you can possibly kind of get it. Then you kind of have the choice of, you can go back to like old school waxes and polymer sealants, which are either paste or spray, or the new world is ceramic coating, which is, like where you're wearing a mask and you're doing all this kind of crazy stuff. I I opted for ceramic coating because it's a bit more, it's not permanent, but it's obviously harder wearing.
How long does it last, Steve?
The one that I got, I think, is between 2 and 3 years. Like when you read up about it, people start to get really cynical about anything that lasts longer than that. Like, you know, anybody apparently that claims lifetime or 5 to 7 years is probably kind of kidding themselves, apparently.
But can I ask a silly question then? When you have to put the coat on again, do you have to go through the whole paint correction process again? You have to take the old layer off, or you just go straight over the top?
So because, again, that's the distinction between it. So like if I've managed to get all the scratches out of my car and then I've coated it, if I manage to kind of keep it really well and I don't re-scratch it, then no, you just have to recoat it. You know, like if you're really careful and you don't kind of put lots and lots of surface scratches because you're not kind of rubbing a microfiber cloth over it all the time and you're kind of putting scratches in there, then exactly what you just sort of, to answer your question, no, like you just recoat it again.
Okay.
It's the contact of the top surface that's putting the scratches in.
Right.
So no, you don't have to kind of go back and paint correct it. Like in an ideal world, you paint correct your car once. You might have to kind of do like a little buff with like the final step of polish kind of thing, but you're not going back and chasing deep scratches anymore because once they're out, you're trying to avoid kind of going back there.
So even if you paid someone to do this, you don't want to do it yourself. It's a lot of work. You know, you've been doing it for months now over lockdown, right?
Well, yeah.
But no, if you don't want to do it yourself, because I know you said your uncle paid someone to do it. You pay someone to do it. If they do it well, all you really need to do is take it in every couple of years and get the ceramic coat redone, you could do that yourself, because that part is probably the easiest part, right?
Yeah, so the paint correction is the hard bit. The paint correction is the really hard bit. The coating itself is a bit of a pain in the ass. So I'll explain. So like my recommendation was that Kamikaze Miyabi thing. It's like a Japanese brand. It's really interesting, actually. I found that seems like the Koreans and the Japanese companies are the sort of ones that innovated in the category, which I don't know, I just found that kind of interesting that Koreans seem to be like, just from a everything point of view, like Samsung and Hyundai, and like, you know, back in the old days, nobody ever sort of took Korean sort of products seriously, and now all of a sudden they're leaders in everything.
I tell you what, Hyundais are getting really good. You know, what was that new electric car that's coming out? Is it a Hyundai or a Kia? I noticed it.
Ioniq 5, I think.
I tell you what, it looks pretty good. And I'm telling you, that SUV, and I know there's probably people listening in the US who people have got that SUV, but that Palisade Hyundai, I was impressed with inside. I thought it was actually quite a nice car. You know what I mean? It surprised me.
Yep.
And I've been in some, it's better than an MG, I tell you that. It's better than that MG. Much better.
Yeah, like 20 years ago, I worked on, as you know, the Sony account for advertising, like, for years and years and years. And back in those days, it's like you wouldn't touch an LG or Samsung television. Yeah. But they're now leaders in the category. So like, I don't know, the Koreans are obviously very innovative, and they must. I remember somebody quoted to me that Samsung had the highest proportion of employees with MBAs. Like this is probably about 10 years ago or something. Wow. So yeah, anyway.
So how expensive is the Kamikaze Miyabi ceramic coating? You put that on, and then there's the Kamikaze overcoat. So you got to buy both. You have to have both of them.
Yeah. No, you don't have to get both. What it is that the first one, the Miyabi thing, is like the coating itself. So once you've done your paint correction, that's where you get your little suede microfiber cloth out. You've got a mask on. You're wiping it on. And you're literally just wiping it on. So you're trying to get like a nice, even, thin layer on your car, and then you've got to buff it off again just with a microfiber towel.
Oh, okay.
But this is where you've got to get it right, because what Benjamin referred to about high spots.
Yes.
Like if you wipe something on, but you miss it, and then you let it cure and dry, it goes hard like it's glass. So then you're kind of stuck with it. And if you don't catch it quick enough, then you're back to having to machine polish it out, or there's all these kind of tricks to trying to get it out. So you've got to be really careful.
So when Benjamin said I tried Adam's ceramic on the truck and ended up removing it due to the high spots, that was basically because, sorry Benjamin, but you didn't apply it properly. You didn't take it off properly.
Oh no, like I'm talking like temperature. I'm an expert, but I'm not. There's many factors in that. Like, so this is the difference between ceramic coatings. Like some of them will be like, once you kind of wipe it on. Once you apply it, you've got to take it off straight away. Why I actually partially picked this Kamikaze is that I read so much about it that sort of said, look, you can do like an entire panel, or you can do 2 entire panels and then go back to the first one and then start wiping off then. So you've got time. Really? It's not it's not flash curing.
Oh, that's good.
And that's why I got it, because sorry, my daughter's now going off. That's one of the reasons why I picked it, because my uncle, who had been using CarPro Quartz, I think,
right,
had sort of said that it was a little bit curly in terms of like the flash time on it.
Oh, okay.
So that's one of the biggest reasons why I got Kamikaze, because it was like, look, I've never done this before. The last thing I want to do is kind of go and apply it, realize that I've kind of fucked it up, and then need to kind of machine it all off and stuff like that. So I'd rather get something that is relatively easy to use for a novice, so it gives me more ability to kind of make mistakes.
Okay.
And that's actually one of the biggest reasons why I used it, apart from the fact that it's also supposed to give you really good quality finish.
Cool. And what's the windscreen stuff? Because you told me, you sent me a message, put that in the notes, the windscreen. So you did a coating on your windscreen as well?
I'll just explain one last thing.
Yeah, sure.
The Kamikaze thing was like, you apply the ceramic coating, you've got to do 2 coats. Most coatings, you've got to do 2 coats. There's very few that are 1, but I'd be tempted to try something that only requires 1, like if it's just as effective, because as I sort of said, I did it in what I thought was going to be like a 5-hour exercise, but it was the whole day. So 2 coatings, and you need to kind of do it like an hour or 2 after the other. So that's one thing to kind of think about, depending on how much time you've got to do it. And then once you've done it, there's this new thing where there's tons of like topper sprays. So once you kind of put a ceramic coating on your car, you're not supposed to start using all the other kind of wax sprays and all that kind of shit. You're supposed to avoid all of that stuff, because you paid all this money to kind of put this sort of high-tech ceramic coating on your car.
Yeah.
So as a consequence, you got to throw out all of your old kind of wax sprays and all that sort of stuff. And this Kamikaze overcoat is like a spray topper that is designed to work over the top of a ceramic coating.
Oh, so you use that when you wash your car, and you can just use that every now and again, or you have to use it
every now and again?
Every now and again.
It's really expensive. It's like $90 for, I think, about 180 mil or 200 mil or something. So,
and the ceramic coating is how much? Roundabout Australian dollars?
I got a 20% discount. I can't remember. I think it was about $200 for a bottle, which I probably used about half of it. I could probably do 2 cars with it.
That's about right. Yeah. All right. And what about the windscreen stuff before we go? There's one other thing I want to talk about, but the windscreen stuff. What was that all about?
Yeah, windscreen stuff. So remember you were talking about wanting to get your windscreen replaced as well?
Yeah, I have to do that.
My windscreen wasn't in the best nick as well. Because I've kind of spent so long just working on my car, I sort of thought, but maybe I'll just have a go at sort of cleaning up the windscreen as well. So I bought this stuff called Geon View,
right,
which is a 2-step windscreen thing. You're supposed to polish your windscreen and then apply again a ceramic coating, but it's obviously a different sort because it's on glass instead. I literally only just finished it yesterday, but what I discovered was that I don't think it really is taking out the scratches on your windscreen. I think it's something more like a...
Go ahead.
I think it's more like what I read was that first step is kind of sort of cleaning your windscreen as best as you can, and then it's sort of putting like a bonding layer down, so then the ceramic coat will actually kind of adhere to it.
Oh, right.
I don't think it really takes out that much in the way of like little surface kind of marks and stuff. I'll tell you next week whether it's any good or not.
Yeah,
because,
tell me.
I haven't driven on it yet, but it was really easy to put on, really easy to use. So yeah.
Yeah, I bought a windscreen polish. I bought some product. It wasn't cheap. I don't remember what brand.
Would have been Auto Glim or Maguire's or something.
No, it wasn't Auto Glim and it wasn't Maguire's. It was another brand, and I saw it on a YouTube video. Someone was talking about it.
Yep.
I don't think it was Larry Emmer because he only promotes his own products. Maybe it was when he wasn't just promoting his own products. Maybe it was an old one. And I bought that, and it seemed to take a few of the fine things out, but the deeper ones obviously don't come out. And I've got a big scuff in my windscreen anyway, like a big chip, and obviously that's not going to come out. So,
well, look, I never paid attention to it. Like, it wasn't until I was, putting the buffer on the windscreen to kind of just do the quick polish sort of thing. Like this, working on your windscreen, like when you read the instructions, they reckon you can, where to go is like half an hour. I reckon I took about 45 minutes because I was being a bit more meticulous. So it's not a hard exercise. But I didn't realize that the wipers had etched like a little bit of an arc in my windscreen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but look, from the driver's seat when you're driving, you can't see it. It's not until I'm on the outside, you know, like with the light on the car and all that sort of stuff. And then you kind of go, oh, there's a mark there. But so it just depends on how picky you want to be. Like,
it's just, for me, it's just when the sun hits it, I've got all those little fine scratches and they drive me crazy. And the thing on the driver's side, and it doesn't really bother me that much when I'm driving. I don't really notice it as much anymore. I'll probably notice it when I get back, but it notices, Natasha, my wife, notices it because she's sitting there and it's in a view. It's straight in her eye view.
Line of vision?
Yeah, it's that like big sort of nick out of the screen, which is always there. It's always there. It was there when I bought it. I didn't actually notice it.
Is it a chip?
Yeah, it's like a big chip.
You could try filling it. Like I've had that done before, and it's actually surprisingly good. Some of those windscreen chip repair things, yeah, they just kind of fill it with like a little bit of, must be a ceramic thing as well, and it visually kind of makes it much smaller, so it's not quite as like it doesn't make it perfect, but it's actually not a bad way of getting rid of most of it. I'd sort of say like maybe 7 or 8 out of 10.
I just thought because the Porsche insurance, you get a free windscreen, you know, it doesn't affect your no claim bonus.
You still have to make the claim though, don't you? You still got to make the claim, which means you got to pay the excess.
No, I don't think it's any excess. Isn't it free? I think it's free.
I don't think it'll be free, mate.
I think it's free. No, I'm pretty sure it's free. That's one thing that policy has, the Porsche insurance policy, which is cool. You get the free windscreen. I'll double check it.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. I'll double check it.
Yeah.
I just want to, before we go, because we're going over time a bit, Steve. Anything else? Anything else about the detailing you want to share with?
The only other thing I'd sort of say is, it sounds really stupid, right? Like I shared with you when you first bought your car. Remember, I kind of gave you a whole bunch of yellow microfiber towels, which like I bought like a 32
and I bought
pack
some more of those too. I bought more of those towels off Amazon, the same ones.
So what you start to realize is that once you've spent like all of this time like peering at your stupid kind of car paint under lights and looking like a crazy man, it's true. Like the type of towel, like microfiber that you use on your car is really, really important because that's the thing that you're rubbing across the paint the whole time.
Yes.
So I went and bought some better quality ones because I just didn't want to risk kind of scratching the car like after I kind of put all that effort into it.
Yeah, I bought some Autoglym ones, I think. The UK brand, whatever the UK brand is. Autoglym. I bought a few of their better cloths. They were quite expensive, actually. I've never used them. They're still in my garage. I will use them.
Yeah,
but I haven't used them yet.
It does make a difference. Like once you get really geeky about it, there's different sort of levels of thickness and pile and stuff like that. And it actually does make a difference. Like just, I would kind of go like when you watch all these proper expert people explain stuff to you and then you start doing it, it's like, yeah, look, it does seem crazy to kind of go and buy a bag of 10 rags for like, you know, $20. But once you've invested so much time and money on the kind of equipment and stuff, you may as well go whole hog and actually kind of do it properly.
You may as well burn more of your money.
Well, no offense. Like, do you know if that last Rasp guy, Andy or whatever, what does he follow you?
I'm not sure why.
I was watching one of his videos when he had taken to his 964 with his kind of car correction regime.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I noticed like it's like, oh man, don't do that. Like he was about to, the way he was getting his microfiber cloth with like the edging and stuff, he kind of had it bunched up like this and he was going like this.
Oh, really?
It's like, fuck man, you've just spent all that time.
Now you know. Now you know.
Yeah. And you
don't know.
You just pick up all of this stuff.
I mean, I like cleaning my car, but I don't need more things to worry about at the moment. I feel like I've got to worry about too many other things at the moment. So
when you get back, I reckon, you know, like it's just one of those things.
I've got to get my car driving first before I can do detailing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do need to do it.
In principle, you enjoy like washing and maintaining your car as I do, as you know. Like, you know, we spend hours just kind of escaping, kind of just, you know, polishing your car or whatever. This is still the same thing. Like it's a bit more tedious and it's a bit more involved, and you kind of, the problem with it is that once you start it, you have to kind of keep going because there's the risk of kind of, mucking it up sort of thing. But in terms of as a hobby or as an exercise or whatever, it's the same enjoyment. Like you kind of get really satisfied by, working on your own car and all that sort of stuff. So you'll enjoy it.
How long do you think it would have taken those, Steve? For the listeners who, think, okay, I want to go outside, I want to detail my Porsche, I want to paint correct it. If you were just doing it, not in lockdown conditions and in, having to go upstairs and look after the kids, how many days would you think it take? Is it a 5-day job?
No. No, you could do it like if you've never done it before, I think realistically you're probably maybe at about 2 days.
2 days. So a day to do the paint correction, a day to do the buffing, and then a day to do the coat?
Yeah, maybe that. But I think if you were, like if I was going to do it again, I think I would be so much quicker because now I know what I'm doing, sort of thing.
Good.
And that falls in line with what my uncle, like, he had exactly the same experience. Now, like if you ask him, I reckon he'll tell you that he could probably do one of his cars in maybe like a day or a day and a half.
Oh, that's good. So it's quite quick. That's okay. Yeah. I thought it was going to take days and days, so that's good.
It'll take you days and days. I'm dead sure of that. Like once you get going, like you'll fall down the rabbit hole fully.
I will do it, but I just want to get through everything that has to happen when I get back, and there's a lot, and it's not just the car, it's other stuff as well. There's a lot of things to get through, and I just want to get through all that and then have a clear head before I do anything else.
My advice to you is that I think that you might enjoy it because I know you enjoy kind of looking after your things in your car and stuff like that. If you kind of came back and you just sort of said, I couldn't be arsed and I just want to drive it, I think I suggested to you, it's like, you can always ask Pierre to sort of see if they've got a guy there when they've got your car and you pay somebody to detail the car.
I haven't got any more money, mate. I'm going to be out of money after this. I've already added up approximately how much I'm going to spend, and I'm actually not going to share it this time. Yeah. I've actually added it up, and it exceeds the amount of money I have put aside. And you know how much I told you I had put aside last time?
Yeah.
I'm well past that. That.
I'm not surprised.
So I'm a little bit like, I'm trying to work out where I can cut back here and there, just to keep it down a little bit because it is, I didn't really want to go in excess of the money that I have aside. It looks like I will have to because of the bumper, but I just have to sort of work it out when I'm there and see how I go because there's a lot of other things.
Is there any way you can cut corners?
I don't know. I don't want to cut corners because there's other things. There's other things I want to do on the car, which I don't really want to cut corners on. I want them updated, changed now. I really would like to do the brakes on my car. I know it's silly, and I know I haven't got the warning thing, but I know they're almost gone. They're almost there, and I just don't want to. I just feel like I just want to change them. I don't know why. I just feel like I want to do it.
I know I said to you, wait for the warning indicator, which I'm just rabbiting what an expert like Grant sort of said to me more than anything. But like just as a reference point, like how long have I had my car? Coming up to the 8th year?
Yes.
I've not changed the pads and discs on my car yet.
Yeah, well, see, there you go. See, I was watching, and this is why I was watching, and I want to share this because I think their channel is really good. We've said it before, Friends Green Porsche in the UK.
Yeah. He's really good. I like
there's a video. Yeah, there's a video today that it might have went up a couple of days ago. 996, the Porsche 996 40th anniversary edition. The owner of the car is the same person that owned the video he did, which was another really good video, which was the yellow Carrera 4S, 996 Carrera 4S. The guy
that bought, yellow one.
Yeah, the speed yellow one. The guy that's bought the 40th anniversary is also the guy that owns that car.
Okay.
And that Carrera 4S was an X50 pack. Remember, that was quite special. So this guy, whoever this customer of theirs is, he's buying pretty good cars. So he bought it from some other dealer. I don't know whether this is Seen Through Glasses 40th anniversary edition car. I don't know whether it is or not. It may be because it said it came from a reputable dealer. So chances are it could be his car. But it's a really good video. And because Steve's, got the detailing thing in my head, and we've been talking about detailing, and I'm thinking about maintenance every day on my Porsche. I'm thinking about all the things that I have to do when I get back. The fuel thing, like I said last week, the fuel's dirty. I don't know whether I said that last week, but the fuel's dirty.
Yeah, you did.
And, that sort of thing, and all these things I'm worrying about. And a few things they went through. And it's I just want to say to any of the listeners who haven't been to that channel, go to Friends Green Porsche and really subscribe. Watch it. Tell them you heard me talk about it on PorscheCooled even so that they know where it's come from. But They did quite a thing, Steve. They prepped and maintenance. They were doing prep and maintenance of this car. The car had come, like I said, from the dealer. It had already had the IMS clutch and RMS rain seal done. That was already done.
Okay.
But they're going through other things like, he wanted the bumper sprayed because there was chips on it, and then he wanted the lower lip painted in the GT silver. So they took that off and it went somewhere else. So that was one part. So that's sort of relevant because I'm about to get my bumper replaced and resprayed. Right, has to be replaced, like I told you. Well, I don't know whether I told the listeners, but it has to be replaced, the whole bumper. Then they're doing the coil packs, and the coil packs are all split, so they had to change all the coil packs. I don't know if my car's ever had new coil packs. And apparently the coil packs, the shape has changed, so you can tell how old they are by the shape of the top of the coil packs. And then the brakes, he said common thing, and then he puts a light on the inside of the disc of the rotor, inside of the wheel, and you can see all the grooves on the rotors. Yeah, all the grooves and stuff on the rotors, which is a common thing, which I'm sure my car has. I'm pretty sure I've seen them. They did a major service. The front condensers, air conditioning, radiator condensers or whatever, or air conditioning condensers, they were all damaged from stones. So they replaced those.
Which is why I said to you, I reckon I had them put in the Renline grills on the front.
Yeah, interesting. They did the bumper and they didn't put in any grills. Even though that was done, they didn't put in any grills. I know the grills are a bit of, some people say yes, some people say no, don't they? With the grills to stop the stones.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't mind the look of them. So, and because like they never installed them on 996 or 997 GT3s, but 991 onwards, the factory kind of did. So I guess like to me, it was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, so I've kind of put them on my car, but it was probably more just that like that many people, or even when you wash your car, there's so many leaves that kind of get into that sort of thing.
Well,
and they reckon that like it rots out and starts to kind of corrode everything in there. So
it's weird though. It looked pretty clean. And then they took off the covers and whatever. Then you can see it. They're doing it on time lapse because it's quite fast. But they can see them getting all the leaves out. There's still leaves there, which you couldn't see when it had the covers on there. But when they took the rubber covers off and everything, there were actually still leaves in there, which were hidden. It's just interesting, the common things, because they're talking about these are common things they see all the time. And they're just, catching up on this car. I mean, things that was, I guess they were supposed to be done, but they weren't done. There was little thing like they changed the exhaust back boxes because they were split, and they were saying it's a common thing where they split on the seam underneath.
On the seams?
Yeah. So that was a common thing. So they changed it to the Miltech boxes, which apparently they really like. They're not sponsored, but they changed them to Miltech. And that same customer had put the Miltech on his C4S, 996 C4S, and he liked it. He got the PCCEM Plus or whatever it is system put in because he got to put in the other car as well. Had a small oil leak. I'm just talking about common things, things that my car had that coolant leak when I bought it, remember? And that was just like a cheap fix. It was just a plug. This one had a small oil. Yeah. I think it was just the seal or whatever. This one had a small oil leak, but it was just a plug washer, which they said was quite easy. It's just interesting because they go through the whole car. And I think, if the listeners haven't seen the speed yellow C4S one, Steve, that one they should watch. You've seen it, right? And they go through the whole car. And this one they do exactly the same. They're underneath and they're going through and showing you. And it's interesting because it's interesting when you're thinking about your car and thinking about what you want to do. They didn't talk about engine mounts, actually, surprisingly. I thought they would have checked those, but they didn't check those for some reason. But it was good.
Those are pretty thorough.
Yeah,
like,
it's a good video.
They're just really good with 996s and 7s. Like all of his videos, they basically, when they're kind of prepping the car for sale or when they've got customers' cars in, I think they're just so experienced with those two models of car that they know exactly what can kind of go wrong. So they automatically go and look at all of that stuff. And it's almost like par for the course for them is that if they're going to prep a car, they know that thing will kind of go wrong. So they'll just replace it before they sell it. And it's like, oh yeah, cool. So it gives you really good tips on what to look out for your own car.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it. That's why I was interested watching it tonight. I'm going to watch the yellow one again. I'm going to rewatch it, actually, the C4S one. What else?
It seems like there's more that goes wrong on.
But coil packs. Packs. Yeah, but coil packs. What is the thing with coil packs? I don't think the coil packs have been changed on my car. Not that I know of.
That's like a consumable sort of thing, isn't it? It's related to ignition and spark plugs. It's just like, your spark plugs need to be changed. Geez, I don't have a schedule in front of me. Like every
major service, every major, isn't it? Spark plugs are changed over, I think.
Is it time or mileage though? Like yours is such a low mileage car.
they changed mine over last major. I guess they'll change them over again, though.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know.
cool.
I mean, I'm just thinking about things to ask about. I'm just trying to think of. I mean, I know Autohouse will be thorough because I've told them I want everything checked. And
doesn't have to prompt them though.
But I'm just wondering if things like can you check the coil packs? I'm just trying to get in my head things that I want to tell them to check to put on the list. Yeah. Because sometimes they don't always, like you said, they don't always check everything. So I'm just trying to think of the things that I want checked, and want done.
Like, in my opinion, at least, like the problem with that is that if you go to your mechanic, no matter how good and trustworthy they are, and you kind of go, "Hey man, can you check this, 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 and this, and this?" They're probably like, I don't know if that sort of preempts the conversation where they're kind of going, "Okay, cool. This guy really wants his car to be tip-top perfect. Therefore,
I kind of do.
Like, and do you know what I mean? Like, it's a bit more of a mentality where you're kind of going, if you're going to be that fussy about it, does that mean, hey, it's open slather and, go for your life kind of thing?
I guess, you can always let them do it first and then see what they come back with. And that's what I usually do. And then I ask them questions saying, what about this? Did you check that? I mean, maybe that's another, I don't know. I'm trying to delay the amount of time that my car is in service because it's getting close to the end of the month. And I don't know how long it's going to take. And the steering rack alone is going to take, like I said, 4 to 5 days apparently. So,
yeah, I don't think I told you, did I?
No, what?
My car's going in next week.
Oh, okay. What's wrong with it? Service?
Stupid drivers know the window. I suspect it might be from the battery going flat. Like my battery was dying. Remember, I sort of had it replaced.
Yes.
But when you open the door from the outside, when you pull the handle, it drops to break the seal against the rubber because they're frameless windows.
Yep.
When I pull the handle on from the outside, the window drops.
Yes.
But as soon as you release it, it goes straight back up again. It doesn't wait until you close the door.
Oh, really?
And it's really annoying.
Wow.
So I read up about it, and like it's a common thing for the micro switches to fail. Like you got to work out whether it's the inside one or the outside one. I'm pretty sure mine's the outside one.
Okay.
Because when I pull the handle from the inside, the window goes down, but it stays down, and then it'll go up when you close the door, but it doesn't do it from the outside.
Is it an expensive fix?
Yeah, I asked Chris when I made the booking, and sort of said, so what, like, blah, blah, blah. I read kind of it's a micro switch, blah, blah, blah. Is it the sort of thing that maybe I could just kind of come in and like hopefully just wait rather than, having to leave the car with them?
Yep.
He sort of said, look, we need to kind of diagnose it properly. So just leave the car with us for a day, which means I have to book a loan car, which is all fair, no problem at all. And I just sort of said, so like worst case scenario, like, what's the part going to be? And what's the part going to cost? And he said, worst case scenario is that it's the door handle or latch, and that's $900.
Oh, yep. Wow. Okay.
Or for a lousy, stupid, annoying window that doesn't kind of, go up and down.
Yeah, I know. It's the little things that cost the most, isn't it? Is that that's not with labor though? Is that with labor?
Probably not.
Probably not. Then you got a few hours labor on top of that, so it's 150 easy.
So if everybody can start praying for me that by Tuesday when it goes in, that it's actually just like a micro switch rather than the whole stupid handle having to be replaced.
Before we go, just back to that, I hope it is. That's still a lot of money. Let's go back to that at the video. The other thing that they did, which is the thing that I had done before I left Sydney in end of 2019, beginning of 2020, was the oil pressure sender unit. Remember I had that replaced?
Oh, yes.
And that was expensive. That was about $500 or something at the time, $400 fitted. Yep. And they did that on this car because the warning light would come on even though it wasn't an oil pressure problem. Mine was not reading right.
Is that what happened to yours?
Mine wasn't reading right. It's when there's a trick to do it, and I forget the trick. It's when you turn the ignition on and how it moves, and it's supposed to go straight back, and if it doesn't, that means your sender unit is broken.
I was going to say, like, how would they know that? Because otherwise, okay.
On this one, the warning light kept coming on, they said on this car, but mine wasn't that. Mine wasn't giving the correct oil pressure reading. It was always at weird, and I'm thinking, this is something wrong with this. And then I found online about the test, and then when I went in there, I remember I said it to, I can't remember who I said it to, Chris or Rick. And they said, that's the test for it. And I said, well, it failed. So I'm pretty sure it's gone. So, and it was. And then I had to get that done. So that was like, I think just before I left, I took a car back in after the service, and that was about $500 or something. So I have had that one done.
Yeah. It's like when you said
common things
that
though. Common things. You know, it's interesting, Steve.
Well,
it's just the common things. Yeah.
It's like when you said that your power steering pump or your rack needs to kind of be reconditioned. It's like, oh, geez, I hope that doesn't happen to me. That sounds expensive.
1,500, I think it was.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know.
You know.
That might not include labor. I don't know. I mean, I don't really know how much it's going to be. This is a problem. Everything's
Grand scheme of things, like you do whatever it takes to look after the car and all that sort of thing. But it's easy for the bills to rack up.
As I've said, I haven't spent a lot of money. Well, I haven't really spent any money on the car in the last 2 years. So in that respect, I'm kind of expecting it to be a little bit higher. The fact that the value of the car, insurance-wise, not what you get for it if you sell it, but insurance-wise has gone up, it kind of doesn't bother me as much. But then again, I still want to keep within the amount of money that I put aside for it, which I know I'm not going to. So that's the other side of it. Mate, we better go.
It's the same for me. Remember, like we did that podcast where I added up my bills. It's like surprisingly been pretty, touch lots of wood. My car hasn't required like heaps of maintenance money. So like I've been relatively lucky with it.
Yeah. No, you have. I mean, Porsches are reliable. You know what I mean? Despite Porsches are reliable and they don't actually cost that much to run and maintain, really. I mean, touch wood, they don't cost that much.
Yep.
Cool, Steve, let's call it.
All right, mate. All good.
All right, mate. Thanks a lot. Talk to you next week.
No worries. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good week.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers,
all right. Thanks. Wow, what time is it? 11:45 p.m. I'm getting a haircut tomorrow. I'm very excited.
You didn't do your sign out.
I'm still doing a sign out now. I'm getting a haircut tomorrow. This is my sign out.
You've gone all casual style.
All right, everyone.
Taking your pants off.
All right, everyone. That's Steve coming in from Sydney. My name is Michael Barth. And that's about it for the PorscheCooled Podcast today. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.